Despite the fact that James Comey admitted Thursday he was the one who leaked his private conversations with President Trump to the press, and that Trump, the president, was never under investigation by the FBI, many in the media are ignoring the facts and have cast Comey as a saint in all of this. Watch.
I think Comey came across as an honest man under oath against a president who really doesn't focus much attention on telling the truth.
The big story here is that Trump is completely lost control of this town and of the narrative, and the guy he thought he had swatted off the board is basically running D.C.
Today really was, as it was predicted to be, the worst day of the Trump presidency.
Just worse than the last day that he covered the story. Howard Kurtz joins us now, host of Media Buzz. Lawrence O'Donnell there, who's had quite a few very dramatic opens over the last several weeks. So, Howie, how did the press do covering this yesterday?
Look, James Comey clearly now has a tarnished halo, but because he's calling President Trump a liar, the media are happy to grant him angelic status. I mean, this is a guy who, you know, is being portrayed now as a folksy, no-nonsense G-man who's upholding truth, justice, and the American way, despite the fact that much of what he said at that hearing confirms part of President Trump's account.
Yeah, indeed it does. Here's a tweet from President Trump. He said, despite so many false statements and lies, total and complete vindication was his take. And wow, Comey is a leaker. And then I want to play what the president said this afternoon at the news conference before calling on a member of the press. Watch.
Who would like to ask? Should I take one of the killer networks that treat me so badly as fake news? Should I do that? Huh? Go ahead, John.
And then he went on to sort of point the finger, talk to John Karl, say, you used to be nice to me, you're not nice to me anymore. You know, it's a tricky situation, and the president clearly feels that a lot of the press is not on its side, and it's been demonstrated by that when you look at the numbers and the percentages of positive to negative stories about this president. Can he get a fair shake from anybody out there these days, Howie?
He's not getting a fair shake from most news organizations. Of course, no presidential presser is complete without a shot at fake news. But on this business about Comey being a leaker, you know, he's now an acknowledged, admitted, under oath leaker. And he has been driving the narrative, the media narrative against Trump for about a month now. But for a guy who's from the FBI, he's left a lot of fingerprints. It's pretty obvious to anybody that he was behind these stories about Comey says Trump demanded loyalty. Yeah. Comey says Trump told him to shut down the Mike Flynn investigation. And so I think the press has kind of given him a pass, and instead of kind of depicting him as a savvy Washington operator who knows how the game is played.
Yeah, I mean, if you look across the newspapers this morning, it's just these, you know, sort of cherubic pictures of him sitting there, you know, holding up his right hand for his oath and coming off smelling like a rose. When you dig into some of the, you know, earlier Comey stories, there's a lot of questions out there. And the bottom line is that you have to look at both sides of this story, Howie. And, you know, it was interesting to me that Chris Matthews, we showed a clip of him a moment ago, but he also pointed out that he believes that the obstruction of justice idea and line of thinking pretty much washed up, he felt, in that room yesterday.
Right, and Comey was careful. He's a good witness. Was careful to say he wasn't making the charge of obstruction of justice. He was just trying to supply the facts. Look, it was just a few months ago, Martha, that much of the media, particularly on the liberal side, was castigating James Comey for reopening his investigation of Hillary Clinton in the final days of the campaign. Hated him, but now he's useful because he's an outspoken Trump critic, and so he's getting very nice treatment from the press. And, you know, we ought to be skeptical of both sides, but at the same time, we ought to not just give Comey a free pass, which is what's happening.
Exactly. And you wonder why people lose faith in institutions and media to a great extent as well. Howie, thank you very much. Good to see you, sir.